Hi, I'm Stephanie Strange. Want to hear something scary?
We're a really tight-knit family. It's myself, my little sister Tess, our mom, and our grandma. Our house is filled with so much love from both our mom and grandma. We're also regular churchgoers. Don't get me wrong though, Tess and I had to go back in the day, but now that I'm older, I can stay home and take care of both of us. We get to decide if we want to go or not, which is nice because I'm not always up for it. And one day, I got to be home alone with Tess and learned about her past lives. But a lot of it just seemed like stuff she had seen on TV, or maybe she had learned it at school. For example, she had stories like riding in a wagon drawn by horses while wearing a yellow dress, walking through the streets of Victorian London, sitting in front of a small black and white TV as she watched the incredible moon landing unfold before her eyes. All these things were impressively descriptive, and yet not impossible for a first grader to know about. And while I might have been somewhat open-minded, we did not tell my mom and gran in case they didn't approve or didn't believe her. But things started seeping into her daily life, like referring to something in a really old-fashioned way. She asked to use the loo at school. She tried to make a cup of tea with milk, which might be fine and all, except these are expressions that are commonly associated with British culture, which we are not. Sometimes she said weird stuff and my mom told her off. But when she began sleep talking in Dutch, they took a notice, especially when Gran told us we had Dutch heritage. Tess looked right at Mom and Gran and told them straight up she died many times before, and in one of her past lives, she lived in Holland with our ancestors. Now, this was all rather entertaining, strange, and yet innocent until that day, Friday the 13th. Tess had been studying superstitions at school, and when she got home, she couldn't wait to ask us about black cats and knocking on wood. We were all sitting at the kitchen table enjoying a meal of spaghetti. Tess was also eating all the garlic bread and not sharing, so Mom told her to pass it around and offer some to Gran. Gran shook her head and smiled, joking that maybe her inability to eat garlic wasn't because of indigestion, but because she might be a vampire. Mom laughed and asked Tess if she had learned about that superstition too. We were expecting Tess to laugh along, but instead, she had a very weird, serious look on her face. "No, Granny, you can't eat garlic because it reminds you of when I was in your tummy." I burst out laughing at the odd statement, but Mom and Gran were shocked. What do you mean, Tess?" asked Mom. "You were never in Gran's tummy. You were in mine because I'm your mommy." Tess looked at Mom like she was dense. Gran stayed silent. "I know that, Mommy, but before I was in your tummy, I was in Gran's tummy. But I was going to be a boy, so I choked and died. Then Gran nearly died too, so I had to wait quite a while before I could go into your tummy." Gran let out a sob as Mom's eyes grew wide with fear. Later, Mom told me something that only a handful of people knew. About 25 years ago, Gran had fallen pregnant. It had been a miracle since after Mom had been born, Gran and Grandpa had not been able to conceive again. But in a tragic turn of events, around 8 months into the pregnancy, the baby had died. The umbilical cord had wrapped around its neck, and the baby had choked in the womb. The surgery after had complications, and Gran had flatlined for a few minutes. It had all been very traumatic and had never really been spoken of since. And Gran had never told anyone that the baby had been a boy, not even my mom. There was no way Tess could have known about this, and it seems completely impossible that a 6-year-old would make it up. And the even weirder thing, the due date of that baby, 15 years before, had been Friday the 13th.